Arjun Erigaisi won the Tata Steel Challengers 2022 and booked himself a spot at the Tata Steel Masters. This is a picture from the closing ceremony. Arjun got this trophy. The bigger one is for Magnus Carlsen. The shorter one is for Arjun Erigaisi here. And these are the standings after the round. Arjun won with a gap of 2 points, 10 and a half out of 13. The next finisher was 8 and a half. Here's something interesting that was shared by Arjun's trainer, Srinath, in his Instagram stories. Green is Srinath. This is their WhatsApp chat, but we'll be able to give more useful feedback once we spend some time. So Arjun says, yeah, now on to classical chess. I think this was after World Rapid and Blitz. Winning White is my ultimate goal for now. Srinath says, okay, nothing else will come into my mind until the end of Jan. And Srinath says, I expect around 9 to 10 will be required for the first place, which he was right because the second place finisher was 8 and a half. And Arjun says, oh, I'm aiming for 10 and a half. Srinath said, high aims. And Arjun says, I don't mind even if I don't finish first, but I want to score 10 and a half. Now, this last line shows a lot of things about this young talent, Arjun, because he's not even caring whether he finishes first, second. Those are things not in his control. But what is in his control is that he wants to play his best, reach 10 and a half. And by the way, guys, he actually did it. If you see here, he scored exactly 10 and a half out of 13, which is simply phenomenal. But it was not easy. It was not easy because in the last round, he was up against Mark Andrea. He was up against Mark Andrea Morizzi, and the game started with d4. Now Arjun had won the tournament. So on one hand, you are quite relaxed and you have nothing to lose. But on the other hand, you are like, okay, the tournament is done. What do I have to still fight for? Knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. The Nimzo Indian. Knight f3, castles, bishop g5. c5 was played here, rook c1. He played h6, bishop h4, cd, knight d4, d5. And here white took, and now Arjun took. This is kind of a new idea. The main move has been g5, bishop g3 and queen d5. Notice that the knight is pinned here, so cannot move. And this has been played by many strong players. However, as Srinath revealed on Twitter, this move, bishop c3, rook c3 and g5 is an idea of Surya Ganguly in his Chessable course. And Surya mentions how black equalizes here, and Arjun uses that antidote. After queen d5, f3, he goes for e5, pushes the knight back, takes, and here he plays the move e4. Now this is important because if you were to start with, let's say, knight c6 in this position, then after e4, the bishop comes out and white is doing really well. So he pushes e4, keeps this bishop slightly boxed in. Knight d2 was played. It was also possible to go h4 here with an interesting position. Even knight d2, rook e8, takes, pawn takes. You can't take here for now because your bishop is hanging. Knight d7 is an interesting idea with knight f6 and then hitting e4. He went knight c6, e3, rook takes e4, bishop d3, rook went back, bishop b5, and now Arjun already has a great position. He gave a check. Maybe was possible to start with check and knight b4 when he has much better chances, because king b1 here loses to bishop f5 check, and a2 is hanging. You can't play a3 because of knight a2 anyway. So it's not so simple. Let's say if you take on e8, I give a check, maybe king d2, knight c3, and black is doing very well. But in the game, Arjun first gave a check, and now when knight b4, bishop to c4, bishop f5, rook f1, and now he came back. Well, maybe bishop g6, he was a bit afraid of rook f6 ideas. Quite possible threatening rook takes g6. So bishop e6 takes. And at this point, I felt like the game would end in a draw. If anyone, white should be slightly better because in such open positions, bishop is more powerful than the knight. Both sides have their weaknesses. Rooks are active. Draw looked likely. But Arjun played on, first offering a rook trade, knight came back. He defended the pawn, again offering a rook trade. A pair of rooks were exchanged. Then he came back. And there was no reason why black should be better here. But Arjun kept playing, gained some space on the king side. King e7, pawn push, White was also trying to play actively. I mean, Moritzi is a good player, but over here they already repeated twice, and it seemed like the game would end in a draw now. But this is where Arjun really wanted to get this 10.5 score. He said, "Let's go for it." Okay, I thought he will go knight c5 with the idea of king c4 and king b3. But then check king c4, rook g8, rook f5, rook c8 so that you can't take this immediately. King b3 and now a5. And this position is kind of drawish because after, let's say, ba, rook a7, king b5, rook a5, this would end in a draw. But Arjun went for check here. And I think it was very much possible to take this pawn. Although the position does remain quite complex after this, I think white has great chances to hold this. I mean, it's a draw. But Moritzi played king d3. This is still okay. e4, king c3, knight f1. Now the e3 pawn is attacked. So first rook here, check, king b3, knight e3. And here I would like you to just take a bit of time and figure out what you should do with white. So this pawn is kind of doomed. And when you take it, the king is coming in. So it's very important to stop it with bishop c3. If you found this move, well done. After this, the draw would be, I mean, black will still fight on because he has this strong e passer. But it seems like a draw is most likely. But rook g5 was a mistake, and now Arjun converts this precisely. King d4, a5. Okay, here's a small variation that I tried to analyze. It's not forced, but take, check, king a2, check, king b3, take on g2, takes, bishop here, king d3, h4, knight f4, knight h5, e3, and now if e2, bishop c3, so king d2, bishop d4, bishop c3, king c4. Very important move. Take, king here, and finally white manages to hold a draw this way. So it was still possible to draw, but after a5, I think it was no longer. g3, Arjun took, rook takes, knight d5, bishop takes, rook c5, excellent move, attacking b5, e3, rook went back, knight b6, check here, and now e2. Here it was already quite difficult. Maybe rook g4 check was an idea, but then king e3. Eventually, black with this e pawn planning to queen, and also this mating net which he has with the king, rook, and the knight should be able to win this very well. But he took rook a7, and now I would like you to find the final winning move that gave Arjun the title. Very pretty. So if you thought knight c3, that is incorrect, because after take, not rook e7 because rook e3 black wins, but first an intermediate check. And now wherever you go, I check you and I am able to hold this to a draw. So the right move here is, yes, you have to block on c3, but not with the knight, but with the rook. And if you take, then knight c3 is a check followed by queen, and this is not possible because I take your rook, and this is how Arjun managed to win the title. I think it was a great performance by the youngster. He ended the tournament with 2660, India number 4, world number 4 in juniors. Really a great performance. And also he achieved what he set out to do, which was to get 10.5 points. It's really something to be very proud of, and I wish him good luck for the coming tournaments and also for the Masters in 2023. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.